Hi everyone, meteorologist Steve Caparata here with another episode of Coast and Climate. And in recent weeks, we had a really interesting announcement come out. Now, right now, this is a little more focused down in the New Orleans area and up into the river parishes some, but I think it's a really interesting concept, and there's some plans to hopefully kind of expand this through the state. So that's why I wanted to address it. It's called the Community Lighthouse Project. And really, this is trying to answer the question of what do we do when the power goes out, when a storm hits, right? And I thought this was a really great way of tackling this problem. So I'm joined today by one of the people involved in this project, Reverend Neil Bernard. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
So Reverend Bernard, you're the founding pastor of the New Wine Christian Fellowship Church in Laplace, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we just had recently the announcement about this Community Lighthouse Project, and when I read up on it a little bit, I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was really a great idea, but probably a lot of people, especially up here closer to Baton Rouge, haven't heard a whole lot about this yet. Give people a brief overview of what the Community Lighthouse Project is all about.
Yeah, real quick, the Community Lighthouse Project is a project that was sponsored by or put together by a group called Together New Orleans, which is made up of faith-based groups that respond to disasters immediately after the disaster. The goal is to make groups resilient so that even if the power go out, we'll be able to continue to serve our communities, providing disaster relief, giving aid, as well as for those who have medical devices in need of power, being able to be a place where they can come and charge their cell phone as well as charge their medical devices. And so we experienced after Hurricane Ida the reality that when the power went out in the greater New Orleans area, many people were without power for 2 and 3 weeks like we were. And as a result, clinics lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of medication. Relief agencies were not able to serve communities like they should because of not having power and lights. And so they immediately saw the need to be able to have a more reliable power source, and thus the birth of the Community Lighthouse, which will be providing solar panels and battery backup to certain key agencies that will be able to they'll be able to respond immediately after disasters. And these battery backup and solar panels will make us resilient so that even if the lights go out, we will still have power to be able to serve our communities in an effective way.
I thought this was such a great way to tackle a problem. The National Hurricane Center recently has given some presentations, and they've said in recent years that a big chunk of the fatalities related with hurricanes has actually been related to the loss of power. So this is directly addressing that issue. They gave a statistic, something like 30% in recent years, but when you look at a storm like Ida, when you look at a storm like Laura in southwest Louisiana, I think the percentage here in Louisiana kind of tied to power issues even a lot higher than that. So your church is going to be one of these hubs, one of the lighthouses, if you will, correct? So where do we stand on this project right now? Do you know when you guys are, is any of the equipment being installed yet? When do you expect to be ready and up and running with the solar panels and the battery backup?
Great. Yeah. So first of all, we're thrilled and excited by being selected to be one of the community lighthouses. We've been responding to disasters ever since Hurricane Katrina and service our community. So we want to express our thanks to the Greater New Orleans Foundation, as well as Together New Orleans, who've made this possible. The plans, the kickoff event was a week ago where it was announced that at least 18 of the, I think 16 of the 18 lighthouses have been fully funded. And so therefore, the goal is in the second quarter to begin installing the solar panels. It takes about 4 to 5 month lead time to order the battery backups. And so that's going to be the largest weight. But the goal is by the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023 to have these 16 community lighthouses up and running. And so that's currently the time frame.
And there's already been some dollars committed to this project. Tell us a little bit about who's kind of helping fund some of this. And also, it's a two-part question. So A, tell me who's helping fund this. And B, am I correct in that people like you and your congregations are also going to hopefully help sustain this going forward?
That's correct. So currently, one of the larger donors have been the Greater New Orleans Foundation, as well as the City of New Orleans have put up money. And recently, Representative Troy Carter announced that in their appropriations bill, they're also the federal government will also be putting up the money for this. So it's been a group of donors who are excited about the this project and helping agencies become resilient after disasters. And so those are the groups that have largely put up the funds, and and so most of it will be maintained by the Greater New Orleans Foundation. It means servicing it, making sure that it's up and running. But there'll be very little cost, thankfully, to the lighthouse agencies like myself. And so we're extremely grateful for donors like the Greater New Orleans Foundation and all the partners of Together New Orleans, as well as the City of New Orleans, and our representative who saw that this bill be funded or that this project be funded. So again, thanks to Representative Troy Carter, who helped see that this was funded by the U.S. Federal government.
So I've been at this on the TV side for quite a while, 20-something years, and I'm a South Louisiana native. I've been through all these storms. I know you mentioned Katrina, certainly in Laplace. You talk about Isaac was a big impact. You guys got hit hard by Ida last year as well. From my side of things, as we watch what happens post-storm, it's the churches that are always quickest and best at getting people exactly what they need. And that's one of the things I love about this project. I know there are plans to probably include some other community centers, but churches are heavily involved, and I think they're more efficient than the government is when it comes to doing stuff like this. You agree with that as a pastor? I'm sure it's helped your community quite a bit through some of these storms.
Certainly, I agree with you 100%. Actually, our parish president, as well as many governmental leaders, recognize there's certain things that government do well, but there's certain things that faith-based groups also do well. And thankfully, we have leaders who recognize that they can't always gut a home, top a roof, rescue somebody out of their roof. They don't play a role in helping distribute disaster relief goods as efficient as faith-based groups. And so, give you an example, the night of Hurricane Ida, which devastated St. John Parish and left many areas of our community flooded. We had hundreds of people had nowhere to go. They were in their attics in flooded homes, and we met with our parish government, opened our facilities, and from day one, we were able to help rescue many of the residents. They were brought to our facility until the governor provided buses for them to go to more permanent shelters up north. But beginning from the first day, we were able to give water, ice, cleaning supplies. For the first 10 weeks after Hurricane Ida, we were distributing disaster relief goods every day to our community. Other than on Sundays, we took one day off, even though other groups came in. And the local government recognized they were unable to do that, but they were grateful for agencies or churches like ourselves that are able to step up, and we call it being the hands and feet of Jesus. You know, he said, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me a drink. When I needed shelter, you provided for me. And he said, when did we do these things? He said, when we do it to the least of these, we've done it to him. And so that's one of the mandates that we've been given as local churches, really to serve and care for people in their greatest hour of need. And we've been grateful to be a vital part of serving our community in times of disasters.
And you kind of led me into my next question. So I know a big point of this project is for people to lose power, to have a place to go to cool off. You mentioned earlier those people that rely on medical devices that need power, but I would assume the theory here is that places like your church, it's going to go beyond that. People get fed, whatever needs are going to get met there to whatever degree you can, right? It's going to go beyond just providing power and a place to cool off.
Yes, sir. So great for we have a 62,000 square foot warehouse / gym. It was formerly a Kmart building that we use to provide services to our community. Everything from distributing food to distributing cleaning supplies. We also use it to house volunteers. As you know, that after disasters, volunteers come in from all over the country to help gut homes, to help people clean up after disasters, cut trees, tarp roofs, remove debris. And so one of the roles we play is not only being able to be a shelter of last resort for our community, but also to be able to house volunteers as they come. And so even right now, we have about 80 volunteers who are from various states in the United States who are here servicing families who are uninsured and helping them rebuild after disasters. And so that's one of the roles we play. We call it the long-term recovery. And as a long-term recovery group, what we do is we come alongside those families who didn't have insurance or were underinsured, and we help them rebuild by providing volunteer labor and donated goods, and we help them rebuild their homes.
Since you mentioned that long-term recovery and having some people there to help, there are a couple more questions I want to ask you about the Lighthouse Project, but let me just ask you this. How are you doing? How's your community doing? You know, we're coming up on nearly a year since Ida. How's everybody doing in St. John the Baptist Parish around Laplace, the people that you serve?
Well, as you know, there's a reason they call it long-term recovery, because as you know, there's 4 phases of every disaster. There's rescue, there's relief, there's recovery, and there's rebuild. And the longest part of every disaster or recovering from every disaster is called rebuild. And we are involved in every phase, but the longest part is helping families rebuild their homes after a disaster. Right now, we did about 900 intakes of families who were either uninsured and underinsured. We've serviced close to 350, 60 families that we've already closed their cases, help them put on a new roof, help them put in flooring, help them put in sheetrock. But we still have about 500 families who are still on the waiting list, waiting for assistance. And so it is going to take some time. For example, after Hurricane Isaac, we assisted 1,260 families. It took us about 2.5 years to help our community fully recover and rebuild after the disaster. It's only been about 11 months. We estimate that it'll probably be another year to a year and a half to help those families who are still in waiting to recover and rebuild to get back in their homes. And so we're utilizing every available resource, both volunteers as well as paid teams that we bring in to help these families get back in their homes.
That is absolutely remarkable, hearing how many people you've helped. So there are a couple other questions I want to ask you before we go. Number one, when this project's really kind of originating out of New Orleans. I know you're in Laplace. What I love about the concept in and around New Orleans, though, everybody around here remembers what happened with Katrina. As I understand it, the concept down there in New Orleans is to have one of these lighthouses within a 15-minute walk of everybody in the city, correct? Am I right with that?
That's exactly correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
The
that,
goal is to have 84 community lighthouses in and around the city of New Orleans. That's a long-term plan. This first pilot, as we said, this year, the goal is to see 18 of those community lighthouses complete by the end of 2022 or the first quarter of 2023.
now, another important point I want to make is that while we're talking a lot about New Orleans and we're talking about you in St. John the Baptist and in the river parishes, the goal and the plan is to ultimately expand this even more, right? From what I saw on the
That's correct.
website, that includes here in Baton Rouge, where I am, there's at least a tentative plan to maybe use the McKinley Alumni Center, as I understand it. So what can you tell us about this program potentially expanding through time?
Well, as I said, the goal is to have 84. The first phase of Community Lighthouse is to have 84 community lighthouses around the state, Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, and this place you mentioned, the McKinley Center, whatever. It is slated as one of the sites for the community lighthouses. And so the goal is to work with federal agencies as well as business and industry to fund these community lighthouses. You know, it's going to take resources and finances to do that. And that is what Together New Orleans, as well as Together Louisiana, they're working on raising the funding to make sure we get all these lighthouses funded so that we can respond all over the state. And it's going to be one of the, the one of the most innovative projects in the whole United States. So there's interest all across the United States. We've been getting calls from various media entities want to know about this whole project. And so I think we're going to lead the way for the United States on how to be community lighthouses in times of disasters.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say I could easily see this taking off. I think it's such a unique and great concept. Now, along those lines, we talked a lot about how this is going to help out post-hurricane or post-storm, but there are other benefits here, right? When you talk about a solar installation and this battery backup, tell us about that. Cost savings, backup power. Can you talk about the added benefits even when there's not a hurricane blowing through the state?
Yes, sir. And so, one of the reasons we're thrilled is our utility bills on two of our facilities that we use to respond and help communities anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And so imagine the idea that we're going to have enough power generated to basically take us off the grid. And so we're ecstatic about it that, that these facilities these large projects are going to provide enough power to fund and actually give back power to energy. And so, again, we're excited about it and looking forward to it.
Yeah, just another added benefit that's outstanding, kind of going green here in the process. Well,
Yes.
Reverend Neil Bernard, pastor there at the New Wine Christian Fellowship in Laplace, thank you so much for joining me this morning. And thank you for everything that you do to take care of the people here in our communities here in South Louisiana. And best of luck with this going forward.
Thank you so much. And we're honored. Want to thank WAFB for this interview and appreciate all you do.
Absolutely. I wanted to get this word out because I think this is an outstanding idea. So Reverend Bernard, thank you again, and hoping for a quiet hurricane season.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too. All right, folks, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But again, I think this is just an excellent concept, and we're going to see this getting into action hopefully here soon. So the Community Lighthouse Project, go look them up, check out the website for a little more information, but really great potential for this to be very helpful. And as you heard there, to expand not only across the state, but really across the country. So that will wrap up this week's episode of Coast and Climate. A reminder, you can watch all of our episodes on demand on WAFB Plus, also on our website, WAFB.com. Once I have my next guest lined up, hopefully for next week, I'll be sure to post that and let you know. We'll see you then.
So let's face it, in South Louisiana, we know more about natural disasters than we'd like to. With global warming getting worse every year and our electrical grid seems to be hanging by a thread, and no matter how many times we go through it and how much money we spend rebuilding, we never seem to create a plan for what to do when the lights go out. It's always been our drive, our tenacity, and our sense of community that brings us through in the end. So what if we stop waiting for somebody else and create the plan ourselves? The Community Lighthouse Project is a strategy built on a network of 85 congregations and community institutions across our community, each with solar panels and backup battery storage to serve as response hubs in a disaster. Nobody would live more than a 15-minute walk from the lighthouse, which becomes a safe haven that can help with food, shelter, and emergency services people need, which can operate even when the power grid is down. It also creates jobs and finally moves us towards renewable energy. Together New Orleans is taking the initiative to make this possible. It won't always be needed, but we'll know it's there, waiting for us.